We're live on Wednesday.
Are you sure?
Well, it says we're live.
It says we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we are, rather obviously, drinking bourbon.
Yes, we are.
All right, Ben, a lot of bourbon already poured. This seems to be a thing. What are we doing?
So we're doing the same thing we did last week on the live, which is,
sort of.
let me just kill that for a second. So this is our tier 2 of proof points, 90 proof bourbons.
Yep. So that's where we visit several of the same proof point. That's why we call it proof points. And then pick our favorite. And they're blind. So Ben mixed up my glasses. I don't know what is in each glass, and then he doesn't know what is in each glass.
Yep.
And so we're going to go through and pick what we think our favorite is. We've already done this at 80 proof, and we picked a winner. We've done this at 86.
Yep.
And then since there's so many 90 proofers that we own, this is our second flight. And then next week, we're going to bring the winners back from that flight, and then tonight.
Sure.
And do a final mayhem.
Yes. So if you watched last week, if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, and if you're live, there's a couple people in here right now. We're going to do what we did last week, where we kind of treat this like a normal video where we're not doing comments the whole time, and then we'll get into the comments kind of closer towards the end. That way people can watch this as the rebroadcast just for the proof points flight.
Yep.
So here's what we've got. Well, and I can just say, I was going to actually say what we did last week, just as a refresher.
Okay. Yep.
So the last flight we did of 90 proofers, the first one was Buffalo Trace, Weller Special Reserve, Bullet 10-year, Woodford Reserve, and Russell's Reserve 10. And so Greg's last week was shocking.
Shocking.
Because
several times in the history of this channel, I have said how disappointed I am in Weller Special Reserve, the green label.
Yeah, and I haven't really been all that blown away by it either, but that was Greg's number one.
That was my pick last week, and that's traumatizing, I have to admit.
My number one I'm happy with was Russell's 10-year.
Yeah, it's a great bourbon.
So anyway, what's going to happen is the winner, each of our winners, provided they're not the same one, are going to go into next week's flight. So next week's flight will be Weller Special Reserve, Russell's 10-year, and whatever our first place
from tonight
are. Yeah. And then that will be the final round of 90 proofers.
Correct.
And then we'll see who takes the crown on that one. So I'm going to swirl these. So bourbon A, Eagle Rare, B, Maker's Mark, C, Old Forester, D, Four Roses, E, Evan Williams, 1783. These have been mixed up as per the usual when we do these. So I mixed up Greg's glasses. He mixed up mine. So we're not going to be drinking and tasting the same things at the same time. That's just so we don't influence each other and talk about what different flavor notes we get.
Exactly.
So we'll try to taste our way through these and somehow try to keep this video entertaining.
Yeah, we're not going to do full reviews and talk for like 5 minutes about each one. We'll try to get through it in a hurry. Then we'll get into the chat and talk with the people who are watching live. And thank you so much for joining.
I'm already just socks knocked off by bourbon number 1 for me. I don't know what letter it is, but
wow, swing and a miss. This is I'm getting nada.
Really?
Should we just go through and nose them individually before we taste them?
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
I'm getting like a really, really great cherry note on this one.
Yeah, I need to go find my socks after that one.
Maybe it's the same one.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cherry on that one, almost like a cherry Mr. Freezy, like cherry popsicle.
Now you're influencing me.
Well, we're not drinking, it's probably not the same one.
But like...
Yeah, power of suggestion. I'll keep my mouth shut. Interesting. It is interesting when you go through and I got a sticker that's almost falling off. I'm not looking at it. I'm just repositioning it.
I hate it when that happens.
When you nose bourbons next to each other without tasting them, how much difference you really can get.
It is. That's my favorite thing about bourbon is the fact that individually, if you taste it, it tastes like bourbon. But when you have several of them like together, they are so different. So,
yeah, this is weird.
All right, I'm gonna go in for the tasting approach.
To start without me, I'm just...
All right. Yeah, there's one obvious winner so far on the nose. The rest of them are kind of mediocre. So, all right.
Oh, God, this is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
We do have some water here.
And I have to admit one more thing about this flight. I hate it because I'm actually a big fan of 4 of these 5 bourbons. And the one I'm not a fan of, I actually kind of like. So
yeah, so it's going to be
like,
a difficult one.
It is.
It's like choosing which one's your favorite kid, you know? You have to say they're all your favorites, right?
You know, well,
one more little sip of this one here. So we will, Alex says cheers. We'll be checking the comments periodically, but when they start to fill up, then we'll kind of wait.
Yep.
Cheers, Alex. So drop us a comment if you're watching. Tell us what you think might be your favorite out of this if you did these blind.
And for those of you who saw last week, or if you can like just snap back and look at the screenshot, what other bourbons do you think should be in the flight? Because we do have a few others. I guess there's nothing that's stopping us from round 3.
I mean, we could do it. You know, I said last week that I can usually pick an Old Forester product or a Woodford out. I'm a truffle pig when it comes to those. And just even on the nose on this one, I'm not getting it again. And usually, like, I've done multiple flights where I've had those in there and like, bam, that's it right there. And so far, and Woodford came in last for both of us last week, which was weird.
I know exactly what that is. And collect $200 and go straight to...
Hey, for those of you watching, was that just the 3rd bourbon I took a sip of? Or the 2nd? I don't know. Major G says, cheers. Alex says he would say 1870. I'm inclined to agree with you, Alex. That's what I kind of predicted.
I think that was your 3rd.
Yeah.
I think it was the middle one was missing when I looked over.
I have an opinion. Major's pouring 4 roses right now.
Seriously, that's awesome. And speaking of awesome, whatever this one is, I can't see the letter, which is a good thing. Boy, that's really good.
Ooh, man, these are just really...
But this
Wolfie says it was my 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we should do all of our videos live. Someone could have called me out when I poured the wrong larceny in that video.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Boy, it's got a really weird, like this, whatever this bourbon is, it's awesome. I love it. But I have absolutely no idea what it is. Like the flavor is totally different.
I'm getting a note on this one that I don't usually get.
That's what I'm saying. I got
these
like
5.
just a crazy note, but very, very good note.
Well, that I kind of get on one of them, but it's turned up to 11 for sure right now.
10.74.
Man, this is difficult. So as you notice, you guys probably noticed this is an Eagle Rare store pick, so it is a single barrel. We figured that would be fair.
Sort of single barrels.
Most of them are single barrels because of their bottling process. A lot of them are single barrels, and some of them aren't. So they just can't. They don't legally qualify it. So if you're wondering why we do have a store pick in here, we figured that would be okay. All right. Man, this is a difficult flight again.
So I have 4 favorites at the moment.
So you got 4 number ones and one.
I have a number 1. I think I know exactly what it is, and it's going to win. But
all right.
And I could be totally wrong. I mean, I do have a number 1. I think that's true. I just don't know what it is.
I'm going backwards down the number line here.
I hate putting that in 5th place because that's an excellent bourbon.
Well, but that's the thing. When we do a flight like this, there's not a bad bourbon on the table.
No, totally not.
It's just what's your favorite out of 5 really good bourbons?
Yeah, this one is my 5th place, and it's... Yeah, I know what it is, and it's a good bourbon. I like it a lot. I like a couple others in the family more.
I am not blatantly pulling the Maker's Mark out of this, and I really feel like that's the other one.
I think I am. And it's not in my 1st place, which is a little shocking because I absolutely love Maker's Mark. And I even like just the basic Maker's Mark. Just the basic Maker's Mark.
All right, I think I'm singling that one out for purposes.
Oh, I know what that is. Finally got a note that is very prominent with a particular distillery.
Is it banana by any chance?
Banana bread.
Separating these.
Yep.
This is a contender for last. This is a contender for first.
Exactly. That's kind of how I do it too.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying
I have a couple up here clustering them first, and I'm kind of, to be honest, you're either first or you're last. It really doesn't,
If you're not first, you're last. Was
exactly.
that Ricky Bobby movie?
Oh, I thought it was.
What's that called? Talladega Nights. Ooh,
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
that's a great movie. Dodgeball. The interesting thing about doing these as a flight, so two things about doing these as a flight and then doing them as a flight live.
Well,
Cheers, gents, from Sir Cuts.
Thanks for watching.
Is trying to take your time and really pick something apart.
But not make it the world's most boring video on YouTube.
Yeah, because I mean, all of our videos kind of hold that title anyway.
Yeah, so
Thank you to those who suffer through them.
Yeah, I promise at least am about done. And then I'm gonna start juggling. No, I'm not gonna start juggling. That would be
Really
bad.
juggling?
No.
Do you know how to juggle?
I can juggle one, maybe 2 tennis balls. 3 tennis balls I can juggle like one time through, like one loop, and then it's over.
3 is easier than 2.
Well, 2 is easy with one hand.
Yeah, see, I can't.
That I can do. 3 I can get like, I don't know. Sometimes it like 2 times through, but then it's.
Okay, this is getting even more and more difficult.
So I have a theory. How about we up the ante?
Try to guess them at the end.
So I think I'm gonna lay out what I think the order is before we. And I'll probably be totally wrong because last week was a disaster of bourbon reviewing proportions.
Okay, now I just gotta mess with these 3 a little bit. Let me try this one again. Okay. I'm trying to do at least a little sip of water in between all of them.
So I was watching a friend of ours, Bobby,
Mm-hmm.
went to Disneyland today. I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday, but he posted a video.
He was rocking a Snivs shirt.
He was rocking a Sniv shirt, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And you can get these at our merch store. There's a link in the channel bio
below. Yeah. But I had the idea, but then I thought, all right, that's probably going too far. Of like stealing his logo and making some sort of shirt, like like the bourbon note, and then Bad Axe Bourbon like crossed out or something.
Well, why would we do that to him though? He's promoting our shirt. That would be a way of promoting his.
Yeah, just
that
would be funny, some
yeah.
sort of funny thing. But I'd definitely consult with him first.
These 2 are the difficult 2.
Or is that 3 and 4, or who cares?
Well, so I'm torn. I think this is my number 1.
Okay. So typically when we do flights like this, it's you don't worry about drinking too much because you can always pour more. But at this point, we can't pour more. So
yeah, I mean that's the thing. So I'm trying to sparingly do this here.
And we actually poured with he put a little mark on the
Man,
cup,
there's
and
something odd on this one.
I put it in 5th place.
On the nose, it's a little odd, but on the palate, it's great.
Yeah. So I have a theory about one in particular that
I'm going to put this one above this one.
Okay.
This is my last place. This is my first place.
Okay.
This is above this one. I don't know what to do with this guy right here. I just don't know.
Is it competing with number 3 or number 1?
No, it's just competing as to where to go in here. Does it go above these two or?
It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. If you're honestly, if you're solid with your number one,
Yeah. Because I mean, that's the one that's going to move on to the final round anyway. But
so I want to add a couple of rules, and I know that we're changing the rules midstream. Number one, I'm gonna guess what I'm about to reveal. You don't have to if you want. But if we pick the same number two, and I have a theory that we're going to, it also moves on to next week's.
fair enough.
Because I have a theory that it may.
You know what? Right now, I'm liking this better.
Okay. Fair enough.
One more sip out of this.
I'm gonna try my number two because I
Let me get one more sip out of my first place before we do the big reveal here.
and I'm
Okay. I'm satisfied. So you want to hazard a guess is what your whole lineup is?
well, I'll do them one at a time as I here. Well, are you ready to go?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me get the pen out here so we can keep our standings in
score.
order.
Okay.
So, in last place for you, what do you think it is?
I think it's Four Roses.
Okay. And let's find out. Drum roll. Oh, this is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Oh, you're serious?
Yeah, you could not have been more off on that.
That's funny. Is it really E?
What?
Is it E?
No, it's Maker's Mark.
Oh, I was wondering about that too. I was wrestling with.
So a high rye versus a weeder.
No, but there's this.
So your last place was
B.
Let me see it again just to make sure I did. Last place is B, Maker's Mark.
That actually doesn't surprise me because I'm getting this weird note that I was having a hard time identifying.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me that okay.
Okay, so my last place, I also believe mine is Four Roses.
Okay. You're correct.
D, all right, Four Roses. I am 1 for 1. Bam. I feel good about that.
Yeah, I anticipate being, well, hopefully I'm at least 1 for 5, but.
It's not easy to do,
It
honestly.
is
No
not.
matter how into bourbon you get,
Yeah.
when you drink them next to each other, they can really throw each other's off. So, okay, so in 4th place for Greg.
I think this was the Old Forester.
It is the Old Forester.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're 1 for 1 as well. So redemption right there.
Well,
so
1 for
far.
2.
Or 1 for 2, yeah. You got 1 right is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I have a feeling this is the Evan Williams single barrel.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Evan Williams.
Or I mean 1783.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that
what do we
be
got here?
Letter. You're correct. E.
It's E. Yeah. All right, 2 for 2 on the guesses.
1783. Good.
All right.
Cool.
So far we've eliminated. Well, we haven't eliminated anything because we don't have a match yet.
Yeah, we don't.
So it's
everything's
still anyone's game.
Okay. So
Bourbon number 3.
Bourbon number 3.
Hazard a guess.
So I honestly thought this is gonna be crazy. I thought it was Maker's Mark, but since I've already eliminated that, I think it's the Four Roses. So I'm guessing this is D.
It is D. God, how did you get? That's so weird. Like that. Those are the two that were similar to you.
There's weird notes that are the wheat notes on the Maker's Mark and some other rye notes on the Evan Williams, but there's this one weird note that's really off-putting, and I just misapplied it.
It's interesting because I mean, the two that you flip-flop the two that you got wrong.
But they're so
you knew it was one of those two,
Exactly.
and they were so different. So I mean, you're still batting pretty good here.
Yeah,
with guessing.
Yeah.
Let's see if my batting keeps up. I believe this to be Eagle Rare.
Wow. I don't believe that's
would be
Eagle Rare.
A.
But you're correct.
Hey, boom, 3 for 3. Ladies and gentlemen.
This is history in the making.
Rare. Okay, so now we've got our bottom 3. And so for the refreshers, because I knew a few people just came in, so we're trying to pick, all of our favorites here.
And we're guessing ahead of time before we reveal what we picked.
Yep. In last place for me is Four Roses. In fourth place for me is Evan Williams 1783. And in third place is Eagle Rare. Last place for Greg is Maker's Mark. Fourth place is Old Forester. And third place is Four Roses. So we have eliminated Old Forester, Four Roses from contention.
Okay.
Since we both have it. So now there's no sense in picking bourbon number 2
first.
So we might as well go to the winner and then we'll say who the runner-up is. Mm-hmm. So you still have on the table Evan Williams and Eagle Rare.
And that was where I thought I would land.
Mm-hmm.
So
we actually made predictions before we started going live as to like what we think, looking at this flight, like what we feel like we would pick. Mm-hmm. Pretty close on that. I think mine was.
I think we're actually really close.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is going to be E. So I've said before, I really like Evan Williams 1783. So This is either E or A, but I think it is E.
And the fanboydom lives on. Greg once again picks Evan Williams as his top.
I have several times now picked a blind flight this one. This is really a favorite bourbon. And I love Eagle Rare. I honestly thought you'd pick Eagle Rare as your B, and that's why I was thinking it could go through. But
no, do you know what I picked for my B?
Maker's Mark is
your I picked B. Maker's Mark because I picked Old Forester for my winner, I'm guessing. Is that a letter C?
It is a letter.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is 5 for 5 on the guesses.
That's amazing.
And yours is
4 for 5.
Pretty much, because the 2 that you didn't get correct were the 2 that you flip-flopped that you thought it's either this or that.
Yep.
We freaking nailed this. And by the way, that reinstates my status as Old Forester Truffle Pig.
Or fanboy.
Yeah, I'm going Truffle Pig because I can sniff that shit out. So, Old
1870 is this one, the original batch, which is 90 proofer.
Yep. Okay. 3 and yeah. For some reason, so the Evan Williams and the Eagle Rare, I had a hard time picking between those. The Eagle Rare had like a little bit of a funk on the nose that was just super weird that I'd never gotten from that bottle before. Uh-huh. But then on the palate, it was just a little bit better.
So the Maker's Mark was the one that you really weren't sure where to put. Like it could have been your 4th place.
No, so it could have been either 3rd or 4th, but at the end of the day, I have to taste it all through again. It's like, and maybe it's just the mood I'm in.
Yep.
It's like, I was getting a nice cherry note. I believe this might have been bourbon number 1 in my list that I tried first.
Oh, wow.
And because I was really getting a nice cherry note off of that. And I think I still am as I was tasting through it. Whiskey Wars is in the house. What's up, Sean? So, yeah, I love the fact that you're Evan Williams fanboy status. I mean, it's like Evan Williams and Old Tub.
Yeah.
For you, they are rock solid choices.
But yeah,
and it's not always 1783. You've picked Evan Williams single barrel, I think.
Bottle and Bond is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I will admit I'm a fan of Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely.
And I picked their stuff in several blind flights.
So here's a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think sometimes there are certain brands or certain bottles of whiskey that as people are making their way through their bourbon journey, they skip? Because, it's like, well, I went past the Evan Williams and I just started buying $50 bottles.
I will actually totally admit to
know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I understand where you're going with this. But
tomorrow's video.
I absolutely skipped Evan Williams thinking it's entry level. And same with Wild Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Skipped it and went, yes, I'm looking for Blanton's or Antique Collection or whatever.
Yeah.
But
or even if you're just picking up whatever you look at, you don't know what your
picks or
you don't know what you're trying to buy, and it's like, okay, well, this one costs $60, it must be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Evan Williams costs $20, it's got to be terrible.
Yeah, right. And then eventually,
nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, and several flights in a row now, I've picked Evan Williams 1783 as one of my top bourbons of all time throughout history, in the past and the future.
In the past and the future. So tomorrow's video is going to be based on just that. We each picked 5 bourbons that we think, and the reason we did this video is we've talked to some people, you know, like when you meet somebody else and they're kind of into bourbon, and then
Yeah.
you know you get to talking about it and whatever, and they talk about what they like, and then you mention something like Wild Turkey or Evan Williams, and like, oh, I've never even had that. Like,
Yeah.
Rock Gut whiskey and whatever, you know.
Yeah, right.
And nothing wrong with them thinking
If
that,
you
because
if you don't like it, totally fine with that.
no, I mean nothing wrong with them thinking that it's got that reputation,
Oh,
because
sure.
it does kind of have that reputation,
does.
unless you're into whiskey.
Mhm.
You know, whereas once you're a bourbon nut, everybody knows Wild Turkey 101 is just,
It's like one of the
you
it's
know,
the hidden secret.
yeah. And
So
so,
while you're talking, I'm gonna go ahead and start.
oh, you know what? I need to,
Yeah, you can feel
do
free to
that too.
re-pour.
so I'm gonna do. So I need a little more Eagle Rare, because we do have to do the blend here, the Benny Walker Special.
Benny Walker Special. For those of you just joining us for the first time, whenever we do a flight, we save a little bit of bourbon, just so this is 5 90
Need a
proofers.
little more of the E-Dub, and I'm gonna need a little more of that brown, or that Old Forester.
Of course you are.
There's
So
just a tiny
ultimately,
little bit
this
left.
ends up being about a 17 to 18 year, 450 proof bourbon.
Yes, because if you
Yeah.
total them all up, that's how the math would work on that.
It is. And the reality is, when they sell 17-year, 450 proof bourbons, it tends to be in the thousands of dollars. But it turns out
You
do
can
it
just make
yourself.
one at home. Yeah.
And yeah, okay, this is 50, 25, 50, 40, 25.
Did you say 50 for the Eagle Rare?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
kind of high priced.
Some people. I
Yeah.
paid 32 for that one.
Yeah, I mean, in that range. So, like, for less than $130, you can get this instead of paying the ridiculously overpriced
Yeah.
17-year, 450 proof bourbon that you would buy.
Whiskey War says on mobile now. Is he talking to us? Oh, okay. He's talking to my keyboard. Chose an amazing time to crap out on mobile now. Sir Cut says rich and rare is gut rot whiskey. I've never even heard of rich and rare.
What is that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't get us wrong. There are some that are just absolutely terrible.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But yeah, if you don't know, you might think Evan Williams or Wild Turkey are one of those.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, we've had some Windsor, Canada.
Well, that's a thing with a special purpose, and it's probably not meant to be nosed.
Yeah, cleaning drains. All right, let's go in for the blend here.
All right, Mr. Sir Ben.
Pretty good. I like it.
If Buffalo Trace, Maker's Mark, Four Roses, Heaven Hill,
Brown form.
and Brown Foreman partnered up on a bourbon, I think they could do it well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say if they all. Never mind. I think you all know where that was going. And this was the result. It's whiskey flavored vodka, to be fair. Is that true, or are you being sarcastic? Because honestly, in this market of flavoring shit,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually a real thing or not. Is that like a real thing?
Like, honestly, if that is not a real thing, it needs to be a real thing. And I'm sure it's going to suck.
Here's
But
what you do. You take a vodka and you pour it in the glass.
No,
You swirl it around. You dump it out. You throw the glass away. You get a new glass. You pour whiskey in it. Bam. Whiskey flavored vodka.
no. So, okay, a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, I went to the State Fair, Minnesota,
Mhm.
State Fair. And I bought two of these little aging barrels for whiskey. And one of them had a stamp on it for Maker's Mark. One of them had a stamp on it for
From Smirnoff? From vodka? Aging vodka?
Macallan.
Okay.
And they sold these little bottles about the size of like a single 50 ml bottle of like Maker's Mark flavoring. No alcohol in it. It's just flavoring. So you fill your barrel up with vodka, cheap vodka. You pour in a few drops of this flavoring. You let it age for several months, and it turns out it tastes terrible.
Yeah, I feel like we could have seen that one coming. Well, you're probably a whiskey beginner, you know.
I really didn't know what Maker's Mark.
I was going to
tasted
say you're
like.
whiskey new, but that would be an insult to Rose the whiskey.
Oh,
we would never do that.
Yeah, totally.
Cheers, Matt
Right.
and Rose.
Knew nothing. Still know almost nothing about the whiskey, but it was pretty rough.
Yeah,
But
that sounds terrible.
So I have to say that, like, a lot of people say that vodka has no flavor. I always get flavor out of vodka. It's just not good flavor.
Yeah, it's just like that weird alcohol-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sir Cut says it's blended as a Canadian whiskey, but I think it's 40% neutral grain spirit. You know what? Yeah, that is true because they do make whiskeys. Like, well, that Beam 8-star. Remember we did a review of that on whatever Wednesday?
Kind of.
Yeah, this stuff right here is
Which was actually kind of interesting, and I kind of
neutral
liked it.
grain spirit and whiskey.
Yeah. So maybe that's kind of what this is.
$9.95 a bottle.
Yeah, this is kind of a vodka and whiskey kind of blended.
Yeah, because a neutral grain spirit essentially, for all intents and purposes, is basically
not
just vodka.
legally be because of the proof point or whatever, but whatever. Entry point into the...
Let's get this out of here. That just doesn't even need to be on the bar with these other ones.
Yeah, totally.
I have been meaning to try cocktails with that. That's what. So one thing, it's like sometimes we want to do like cheaper or maybe even sometimes weird stuff like that on the show. And granted, that was like $10 a bottle for like a liter of it. But then, so we do the review. It tastes terrible. And it's like, well, now what do I do with it? I don't like pouring stuff down the drain. I like to try to find some use.
Finally poured my first full bottle, minus a little bit for a review.
Yeah.
Down the drain.
Do you want to tell them what it was?
It was a George Dickel product. We did a flight of George Dickel because there's been a lot of negative controversy about their flavor profile.
Yeah.
Turned out we actually liked 4 of the 5. They were fine.
Yeah, there were a couple that were all right, not hateable.
Yeah,
but and then there
was one in particular that had probably a different mash bill.
Well, and didn't we find out later on that the Guero is not Dickel, and we thought it was?
That could be.
What was one? Did we find out one was Heaven Hill that we thought might be Dickel?
Oh, that's something else.
Okay.
But yeah, Guero is definitely from Tennessee. I don't know where it's from.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But yeah, so Dickel has one thing they called like batch 12 or something like that. Just couldn't.
You mean it's not a 12-year whiskey? They put a big red 12 right there on the
12 right on the
bottle.
front.
Boy, that seems borderline misleading to your customers.
I mean, when Eagle Rare, this is an older bottle. They put a 10 on the front. It means it's actually 10 years.
Yeah.
And this one, it's on the back, aged 10 years.
On the new ones up there. Got them. Which I don't know why would you remove an age statement from a bottle when you're keeping that age?
So I heard the theory was the age statement was going to go away, but there was so much outrage that they left it.
Right, but why would you then hide it? Why don't you put that front and center on your bottle? Like Elijah Craig barrel
when
proof.
You're as cool as Buffalo Trace and you know what you're doing?
I suppose, but I mean, like that's Elijah Craig barrel proof is a 12-year and it's in small print on the tag on the side by the UPS code or something like that. See, I told you I say or something like that a lot.
Do you?
I say in stuff like that.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is actually a really good blend.
I was just going to say, this is getting better and better the more I try it.
But it is a little like too smooth. And I don't mean smooth in like it's kind of watery and it's not unique.
It's definitely watery in the middle. It's kind of got like that, you know, some of them just kind of dip down. It's got a nice finish to it.
Yep.
But the up front and the middle are a little bit weaker, I think, than actually each of these individually were. Yeah. But the finish is fantastic.
Like it tastes great, but it's not overly complex or interesting.
Oh, so I said that the one bourbon I was sipping, which ended up being my last place, which was Four Roses, had a note that I don't typically get on these, that I do typically get a little bit on one, which was this one. It was cinnamon. But usually on the small bat or the Four Roses, I get more of like those clove notes. There's a little cinnamon spice there with a high rye bourbon. But this was like cinnamon.
Really?
Like old granddad with a little cinnamon added tonight. That's what I was getting off. I was just getting tons of cinnamon. And that's why I thought it was weird. Like that's kind of odd for, that particular.
All right. This is the last time you're going to chew Big Red gum while doing a review.
Even with the Big Red gum, I am the truffle pig. I feel so good that I was able to pick that back out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't at first. And I started sipping them and I was like, okay, well, this one's my favorite. And then I went back through and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah. It took me a while to get a couple of the notes that I was looking for. Like I identified this one, but it took me a couple of times through. These two threw me a wild, like a curveball that I wasn't expecting. This one and this one, I kind of right away knew what they were. And those two went to my 1 and 2.
Sure.
I think I know what this is.
So Wolf E says, worst cheap bottle I've tried is Canadian Hunter Rye. I have not tried that. You need to get a hold of some of these. Like, go get some of these like standard mixer whiskeys and find them in a mini bottle.
Mini
Like you
bottle
do
at
with the
100
Windsor Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 100 ml
Yeah.
or something like that.
Spend $3 on it. Yeah, we should go to like Total Wine or some other. Are there, besides Total Wine in our area? Is there another down in Mankato? There's ABC. It's a pretty good sized liquor store.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Are you?
I didn't think
You're
was
not
in
down that
Minnesota.
far, right? You drive quite a bit, but you don't go that far.
No. So do us a favor and throw in the chat real quick. What would you like, without blinding them, what's your favorite and least favorite, like best and worst out of this flight?
Out of this flight?
Yeah, because I'm always kind of curious. It's kind of, it's hard to say now, but if you would have put these in front of me, I did guess my first and last, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so those turned out to be true. But I'm interested in hearing what people would have as their, their top-notch ones.
Yeah. I think Evan Williams 1783 is a little controversial because it is so sweet with a marshmallow s'mores sweetness. I personally like that. That's why I always gravitate toward that. But I think a lot of people don't like that, so they don't pick that kind of flavor profile.
See, I get nuttiness and oakiness on this.
That's crazy. That doesn't even make any sense.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how I actually was when I was going between the Eagle Rare and this, because the Eagle Rare is getting a little more of a fruity note, like a little bit of like a kind of grapey.
Well, let me try. I'm gonna drink just the Eagle Rare.
Just drink the Eagle Rare part.
Okay, so I got it. All right.
Now just drink the Evan Williams part.
Okay. I don't get the grapey.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely get the 10 years. Like, that is completely obvious.
Mm.
Like, you just can't miss that.
No, absolutely
So this is
not.
definitely a lot younger, and so a little bit more corn forward.
Yeah, with the Evan Williams, I always get. I don't mean this as an insult because I love these, especially.
There's
at
a
the
lot
price
of words
point.
that are insults, but they're still good descriptors.
Right.
Like you're a jackalope.
Sure. I don't wear my antlers in the live stream. With Evan Williams, and especially this one in particular,
yeah,
this is pretty basic to me.
Yes.
Like there's a couple of notes.
But
they're
have
good.
You met me? I'm basic. I'm boring.
I am a basic bitch. Let's see. 1870 is solid. One of my first bourbons. Yeah, it's. I think this is really good. I mean, I don't know if Old Forester is for everybody, but man, there's a lot of love for like the double oak and the 1915 for sure. Not the 1915.
1910.
The 1910 and the 1920.
And then you blend those together, creating, of course.
1915. Speaking of which, have any of you seen our video of Old Forester 1915? I feel like that one didn't get. I mean, it got a couple hundred views, but we filmed a full-on sex scene between two bottles.
Does this look familiar to anybody?
That was a dog collar we wrapped around the neck of one of them. Then we made a ball gag for the other one. Then we had them.
By we, you mean you.
Yeah, that's true. I did all this, and I was like, "Hey, Craig, so here's my idea for the intro."
You're gonna
for
show
this.
up and do. Yeah, the intro was filmed, but yeah.
I think when we do, if we get 1,000 subscribers, well, hopefully we will. Hopefully we haven't just topped off at the 956 that we're at, and no one else will ever subscribe.
Well, I think it's a reasonable assumption that we'll get there. So.
I'd like to say when we get to 1,000.
Sure, yeah.
Like it'd be fun to do a video, like looking back on some of that stuff. But like some of our funnier ones, like
do a clips video.
we could, yeah,
a voiceover type clips video,
or we could do. We could sit in the theater and then watch clips like
what's that
Mystery Science Theater.
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Although there's no room to put the camera behind the chairs, but yeah, like it'd be fun to show clips like we did for last Christmas. We made a Gremlins parody. Mm-hmm. We did the sex scene between the bottles.
Radioactive bourbon.
Yeah, but the problem is playing clips of the funny parts of those. We got copyright strikes on those. So,
oh really?
Speaking of copyright strikes, we got another fun video coming up.
Why is there going to be a copyright strike?
I used music.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
it's weird though because it says copyright. Well, not copyright strike. Copyright claim. A strike is different. Strike is like a bad thing. Like you have to rectify that. Copyright claim, I think, just means you can't make money off of the video.
Oh okay.
We're not anyway. So
couldn't you just like play the music, but then play over the top like a bass line or something to
throw off the AI? It would, but then it would just take away from the.
You don't do it loud. Just do like supersonic, so it's not
Well,
within
one time I used music and slowed it down a little bit.
Well, there you go. That's
and
what I
don't
mean.
know if maybe that music just didn't have the copyright thing on it or whatever.
Sure.
All right, let's catch up on a couple of comments
All right.
here. If there are some new ones. Started the night with Sir Cut says he started the night with Evan Williams bottle and bond. Solid.
That is such a great bottle.
Yeah.
Like,
I got a home wrecker of that, the 175 for like $25 once.
Yep.
I mean,
that
it's
is
just
honestly
ridiculous.
like always on my shelf. Like,
yeah. Mangagaya. I think I'm pronouncing that right at this point.
At this point, yeah.
Mangagaya says, sup team. What's going on, brother? Wolf E.
What's his reference to 1915? I think King Ranch. Seriously, is
maybe it is.
There is a thing called King Ranch.
Old Forester, only available in
Forester.
Texas. But
Yeah.
I think it's mesquite filtered or something is what sets that one apart.
So it is, yes, it is a Texas thing, obviously named after King Ranch in Texas.
Yep.
But if it is actually them blending and making 1915, which they're copying us at this point, let's just be honest.
Well, did the bottles actually perform acts of sexual gratification on each other before? Because our bottles did, and I feel like that made them taste a little different.
I'm just going to let that go.
Moving right along.
But I do think we should ask for royalties from the Old Forester.
I think we should too, because we were the first people to ever do that also.
Well, I mean, people suggested it, but then you went all the way.
Yeah. Oh, the two bottles went all the way, that's for sure. So yeah, check that out. Look up the Old Forester 1915 bourbon.
Such a great video. Yeah, the intro is just obscene.
Yeah. So Wolfie says, last place makers. First, I'm torn between Eagle Rare and 1783. Nice. So same as you.
That's in my wheelhouse, and I totally agree. Those are hard to choose between.
I think King Ranch is 1950. Okay, we were talking about. Major G says, do you remember the first whiskey you ever drank? Mine was Canadian Hunter whiskey I stole from my dad. I didn't drink whiskey for a long time after that, thinking it would all taste the same. So is this Major that works down at Hayes, I think, right?
I don't know.
I believe so.
Major's
dude. You never met Major?
No.
I'm assuming that's the same Major because unless somebody else has a screen name. So yeah, let us know if that's you.
I don't know if I know him. Not by name. I mean, I certainly would recognize some people. Yes, it is.
Oh, right, nice. Dude. Cheers. How's it going, man?
So I probably would
Good to have you
him.
in the live stream. Yeah,
I know Jake, and I've seen no pugs, but that's it.
So the first, I mean, I drink whiskey like in the sense of like
just going to tell that story
taking
about
shots
bourbon
of it
and Matt getting injured?
Well, now that you said the name, no, I won't. But we'll tell that story in a different live stream,
okay,
or in a different video or something like that. The first one I ever just like sat and drank, because I probably like you, took some whiskey from somewhere and took shots at the bar. It doesn't count
if you're not really trying to enjoy it as a neat pour.
The first time I ever drank, or on the rocks, usually people start
of course,
on the rocks. So the first one I ever actually just sat down and said, I'm going to drink a whiskey for the purpose of drinking it and not taking shots of it, was Maker's 46. That's what started this whole thing.
Such a great pour.
Yeah.
In fact, if you want to know more about Maker's 46,
we have a video on that.
We have a video on that. It comes out tomorrow.
What?
Doesn't it?
Well, it's in there.
Yeah.
It's in the flight.
I just thought of a great gag for a video.
Which would be?
Like we set up some like reason to have a flight, but I pour out all of the whiskey in all of them. And they're all like the same one. Let's say it's Maker's Mark in all of them.
Sure. It's like I'm getting such a different note off of this one. I just can't decide.
This doesn't taste like Old Forester at all.
Manga Gaia says my grandpa's Crown Royal. That was the first one.
I think that's
Sir Cuts 1915. You mean 3830? I thought we were doing some math around here. You know what? He's got us on that. I mean, he's using bourbon note math there.
No, I've got to explain. While we were talking about the 1910 and 1920, in my mind, I was trying to do the math and I didn't get there, so I let it go.
That's awesome.
That is a true story. Yeah, that is a true story.
Sir Cuts has us dialed in. That's awesome.
Like, if you're ever in Minnesota, or maybe if we ever travel, I want to buy you a drink. I appreciate the effort. Yeah.
Also, that's the other thing I've been meaning to do in these chats and when we're doing live streams. Drop in a chat and let us know where you're from. Like, you don't have to put your address or anything, but just your state or whatever.
Well,
It's always kind of interesting to see like where in the country different people are.
But go ahead and put in your debit card and your PIN number.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Sir Cuts is in Minneapolis.
No way.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so another local feller. Mangagaya TV's in Oklahoma.
Is it Sir Cuts? Are you like a serial killer, or is it like a kind
Hold
of
on, my social security number is ... All right, let's just wait for a second.
waiting?
This is totally private, we promise.
Maybe it's Circus.
Mangagaya TV said the new bottle of Maker's 46 has a bitter aftertaste to it.
You know, I've wondered. I have not purchased the square bottle of the French. They kind of like call out the French stave.
Yeah.
And they kind of supposedly someone thought it was 46 years old, so they got rid of the 46 as like a prominent like label on the bottle. I don't believe
it's
that.
It's a 46-year-old whiskey for $40.
Exactly. I don't believe that. They just
Wolfie
chose to put
in
it in the
North
square
Carolina.
bottle.
Oh, sorry.
I knew that.
Oh, yeah, he mentioned that.
Well,
oh yeah, that's right. He got a shirt.
He got a shirt.
Yeah, Wolfie won a shirt.
So I saw his address and his real name, and
sure. And now we're gonna start sending you all kinds of stuff. I got a bunch of crap I got to get rid of from the storage room. So
remaindered furniture.
you are in for a lot of treats. We'll have that charge on delivery for the shipping. Got a couch I need to get rid of. It's on its way. But we'll film a video like of us sitting on the couch reviewing bourbon just to make it like Bourbon Note merch.
Well, then it's a tax write-off thing.
Gordon Murphy, new to the chat. Haven't heard from you yet. Cheers. He's in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Sir Cuts, Circuits, Lord of Electron. Oh, so that's what it is. Circuits.
Oh,
nice. All right. So if we ever need like electronics stuff.
So are you a geek / double E? Or are you just a soldering guy?
Is that something in the electronics?
He may get that.
Okay.
I'm curious.
So Gordon Murphy's in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Is La Crosse still home to like the most bars per capita than any other place in the U.S.?
Well, they drink beer there.
Yeah, they drink a lot there.
It's a thing in Wisconsin.
Had a really, really fun night in La Crosse once. First bourbon was Beam. First pour to intentionally enjoy was an Ardbeg 10. So that's Scotch action.
That is on my short list for the next bottles to pick up.
We do that on a whatever Wednesday would be fun.
Well, do it on my porch whenever I want.
Well, right. They had the new Lagavulin Offerman edition.
That's another one
It's supposed to be like the most peated Scotch ever. Like it's super smoky, like the smokiest one.
So I want to try the only...
Or it's at least Lagavulin's smokiest.
So I've obviously had several of Lefroy's. We did a flight not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never had a peated Scotch other than Lefroy, except for the Johnny Walker Black, which I feel was mild.
It's mildly peated. It's a blend.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I love Johnny Walker Black because I like the mild peat. So I want to try another Isla Scotch that's not Lefroy. I also like Lefroy.
I had a small sample of Lagavulin 8 at Ace Spirits one time, but I think I had a taste of like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof just before that, so it wasn't a fair thing. Music nerd, soldering geek, sometime. Okay, so you got the reference.
Music nerd? Explain, please.
So Manga Guy TV says, funny thing happened yesterday. Went to local here, and dude got me a midwinter for $109. After I paid for it, dude had a Weller single barrel. Couldn't buy it since we're limited on one allocated. Wow, I would have taken the Weller over the midwinter night.
I've never had it, so I don't know what it's like.
I've only had one of them. It was the midwinter's night dram, I think, from last year or something.
Isn't that from Tennessee?
No, it's High West.
Oh, that's right, High West.
And it was wildly mediocre.
Wildly mediocre.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like a decent rye. Drank it with Sean. Mm-hmm. He had a bottle of it, and he said the same thing. He's a
neighbor.
He's much more into rye. He's a really big rye guy, and he was just kind of like, yeah, it's good, but only for the price and what you have to go through to find one. So I don't know if the rest of them, I can't speak on the rest of them, what those are like, but see, I didn't know Wisconsin had internet yet.
The
major shots fired over the border there.
So as I occasionally, we live a little bit to the west of Minneapolis. My wife coaches volleyball, and she drives to the Dells once to twice a year. then occasionally down in Chicago. There is no internet in central Wisconsin. Like it is 1874 still in Wisconsin, except for a few of the big cities.
Nice.
I mean, there's just they've not invented cell towers.
Circuit said he started collecting vintage synthesizers. Interesting.
Wow.
And expanded into whiskey.
As you
Mega
do.
Guy TV says no return. LOL. So yeah, you're stuck with the Midwinter Nights dram. I have an old that my grandmother gave me, an old Hammond organ.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
My
It's in
grandmother.
decent shape. I think most of it, I don't think there's anything broken. It's been in the garage because I just don't have a place for it down here. I used to have a music room, like a jam room. And she gave me that a long time ago when she downsized her house. She's fortunately no longer with us, but
I know viewers, you can't see this, but right there is a stage. It's not a very tall stage, but it's not the highest.
it's a
roof
stage
ever.
for
It's a
running
stage.
cords underneath it to
Yeah.
keep them out of the way.
And there are there's 2 amps and 2 monitors, right? I think.
Well, there's a couple of speakers, 3 amps,
There are 7 guitars. Ben's a bit of 8 guitars.
8 guitars.
Ben's a bit of a music geek. And
I do like music.
Yeah. I like music too. I'm just not good at it.
I do like to play music, so
Yeah.
that's another thing. All right, well, so should we wrap this up? We're pushing the 1 hour mark here.
Yeah.
That's usually about
I think so.
about enough for a live stream. It is great talking to you guys. Mega Guy TV says, put up a poll in that stage and make it a neon sign that says, booters, look for women with big booty and call it a party. You know what, man? I like the way you think. Fine. Okay, so I have an idea for a new channel. Tell you what, man, you start that channel up. I'll be your first subscriber. But I'll leave that stuff up to you. All right, well, thank you very much for watching and kind of playing along here. Thanks for all the chats, letting us know what you would have picked, letting us know where you're from.
Absolutely.
So next week, I think we're going to do the final round of this.
I think so. I think
as just a video, so not live, but we have plenty more things that, we got the 100 proof coming up, which I don't know if we have to do a full-on video. I think we can do a video for that because we did the 100 proof bottled in bond flights.
Yeah.
So we could take the winners of that.
Yep.
And put those in right off the bat to kind of, because there's so many 100 proofers that
there's
we'd
so
have to
many.
do
Yep.
10 flights of it. So maybe we'll do some of those live, or maybe next week will be a whatever Wednesday. We'll just see what's going on. But yeah, next time we go live, we will we'll definitely keep you posted. Major G says, have a good night. It was fun drinking with you. You too, man. We'll see you at Hayes next time I'm down there, hopefully.
Cheers.
And glad, oh, he's correcting his thing from, it says, I've missed the past few Wednesday streams. Glad I caught it on tonight. And now there's somebody from.
Yeah, that happens. We need.
Can you guys see that? There's a spammer in here.
Yeah, it's
It says
a bot.
Tinder.
Don't click the link. It's not Ben.
Best adults. Well, you know what? I feel like I should probably just click this and just to make sure. So I'm just going to cut the live stream and I'm going to do some more research on this.
No, don't do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time.
See you later. Cheers.
See you next time.